by sticking to a really stubborn build.
Well, I know, and I think your friend's right, of course, because it's the same comment of like me saying Dodonpachi's hard and someone saying you're not bombing, right? And it's like you know what I mean, to some extent. But on the other side of it, I think when you think about like Mark, you're kind of thinking about it as like stats versus agility, or rather positioning, or whatever, like gameplay, like raw gameplay, right? Can you overcome stats with raw gameplay?
Exactly.
And I think totally. And I think like, did either of you play Symphony of the Night by any chance?
Yeah.
All right. Do you general feel like the game? Kind of think it's okay.
I think I like Rondo of Blood a lot more, and I think I know where you're leading the witness.
You know
and I know where you're going here.
You know where I'm going.
Because I hate the stupid RPG mechanics of Symphony of the Night. I'm like, get this bullshit out of here. Let's just slash shit and run around.
I feel like there's a great game in there, but it just fucking lacks difficulty and like a good enemy. Because my favorite Castlevanias are Portrait of Ruin and Order of Ecclesia, because they both have hard modes where you actually have to use all those RPG mechanics really cleverly. Like for example, you have to match the elements to maximize damage. You gotta be mindful of your positioning, figure out which spells to use where. You also have to manage your hearts or mana as well. It's really interesting. Symphony is like that. Like it has all the tools for it, but it just lacks difficulty and good enemy design.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, I think difficulty is going to make a pretty big presence in our conversation, because it's going to be an important part, I think, of these games. Like you said, Mark, when the game, and Bog, when the game first came out, Dark Souls 1 or that whole series, it was all about this game is super hard. Like it's for the people who want Dark Souls. Yes, exactly. They marketed it that way, right? And difficulty is got to be an important part of these games, just because of the marketing and because of what they're asking the consumer to buy. I think that changed as the series went on, and I think like they brought in the different things. They brought in the difficulty, because here's the thing, guys. Like Dark Souls doesn't have easy, medium, hard. Right?
Yeah.
You don't load up a game and say, I'm gonna play on easy.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't exist. Easy is defined by you, the player, on what you want to do. And do you want to like sit in a section and just grind souls all day and just like run a podcast, or do you want to like? Because I never did that. I can't grind. Here's my stake in the ground for RPGs. I can't play JRPGs because they want you to sit in a section and do the same thing so that you can be powerful enough for the next section. And I refuse. I will just fight that boss at the least amount of power over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Case in point, Crucible Knight in Elden Ring. I actually made a video about it, put it on YouTube, because
I love that boss.
Because the boss literally was like, you have to do this one thing. Fuck your build.
I think I know what that one is. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a tough one.
So but yeah, so it's like one of those things of just like the difficulty of these games, Dark Souls in general, to some extent, I think, is going to vary based on your build and a particular boss that you're fighting. And I think that's the more elegant way to do it than to say like, well, there's got to be a specific answer where this is the Sekiro end, right? You've almost got like Dark Souls 3 on one side, you both don't like it, and you got Sekiro on the other side. I'm sure you guys are like,
I like Dark Souls.
Sekiro.
No, I don't like Sekiro actually.
Yeah, Mark doesn't.
I'm probably the biggest Sekiro hater of all time. I think the level design is nice. I like the combat a lot, but the level design I hate. I hate the stupid let's be Spider-Man half of the game, and you're just whipping on all the things and just climbing. Because for instance, I played 5 hours of Sekiro where I went through on my foot and I fought all the boss, fought everyone. Then I realized I'm wasting all of my time. I can just rappel over every single person and it makes no difference. And I hate, I don't like the game. It drives me nuts. I would love Sekiro if they just took all the combat and like made a boss rush and you just fought everything one after another.
True.
Design and
They already have that.
I feel like all these games would be better that way, to be honest. Except Dark Souls.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the. I think it's Boghog and Mark versus Octane for sure. Because, like,
it's
gonna be, because the thing is like a lot of my
not Elden Ring. I'm here to be the moderator for Elden Ring, but Sekiro's on the hit list.
Let's see. So I'll answer this question first, and Bog, I can let you go on this. So like as a fan, I saw the first Elden Ring, like the first gameplay where they showed the horse or whatever, right? And the horse was like double jumping and shit, and like going 87,000 feet in the air, and they saw a guy walking around getting herbs from the environment or whatever the fuck, like craftables, and I was like, I'm gonna hate this game. I literally went around telling everyone, fuck this game. This game's gonna be shit. Fucking open world. If you want me to pick up anything from the open world, like and it's like random herbs or whatever, just don't give me put your game directly in the trash can. I don't want to play it like at all. Like that's what I initially thought, and I was like, oh my god, because Ghost of Tsushima could have been a good game, but it's ass because it's just that like I don't want to craft anything.
Me neither.
I don't want to craft.
Get that shit out of here.
I call them klepto board games. Like klepto maniacs.
Yeah. My friend used to steal everywhere he went. He loved that shit. He crafts all day long.
So I was like anti-hype. I was literally like, I'm not hyped for this at all. This better be good. Like you're giving me open world. I like in Dark Souls 1 and 3 in particular. I like, and Bloodborne is amazing at this. The like spaghetti level design of like back where I started, and like all that shit is like delicious. And like what you said, Boghog, was perfect in that I've always thought that Dark Souls 1 is Castlevania evil. It's like Castlevania brought into 3D.
Wait, did I say that?
No. You said Symphony of the Night was not what you wanted out of it. I'm telling you, this is the right sequel to Symphony of the Night. If you want Symphony of the Night in 3D, play Dark Souls. Yeah, it is exactly that.
It also has some interesting parallels to old school Castlevania in the combat, because it's not really execution heavy. It's pretty slow. It's like methodical, and once you figure out how to like kill an enemy or dodge an attack, you pretty much can do it every time because it's not really demanding. I think it's really addictive because it makes combat kind of puzzle. Like people know where they messed up and they know how to fix it immediately because there's no nothing complicated going on.
And I would agree too, because when I did my Rondo of Blood video, the thing about Castlevania that I think makes it stand out as an action 2D platformer, whatever you want to call it, is the massive wind-up and the massive sort of recovery on your attacks, but they're so hefty. You hit something, it feels like you hit them with a ton of bricks, but it takes an hour to get.
There's like a rhythm to it. Yeah. You hit something, it dies in one hit, and you can kind of like there's a really satisfying flow to it.
The Dark Souls series are like that a lot. Like the wind-ups are massive, the recoveries are hours long, it feels like. But when you hit something, it feels like you really smack the shit out of it. So I can definitely see the connection there for sure in the combat.
Yeah,
so what do you think, Boghog? When you watch the videos, like when like Elden Ring was first getting hyped and you saw like gameplay footage, were you like sitting where I'm sitting, where you're like, oh my god, they're gonna ruin the series, I'm gonna hate this game, or where were you at with it?
Actually, I don't think I thought anything of it. I was just like, oh, okay, well, we'll see how it goes.
Typical game dev.
Unacceptable
way
answer.
Too wise. Absolutely unacceptable answer. You're right.
Spice it up.
The only interesting thing was like really late trailers, because it started giving me like a Dark Souls 2 vibe, where it's like, okay, so this is what Dark Souls 2 should have been. This is what they originally wanted to do. But other than that, I wasn't really expecting much. I was like, okay, maybe we'll see.
I think I have the best answer, which is I kept confusing it with that Wii Fit game game, like, isn't there a Wii Fit ring game or something? So people kept saying, yo, you hyped for Elden Ring? I'm like, you all are into fitness. I don't know why you guys are so excited for this fitness game.
Can I answer this? Because I'm gonna out myself here, and I don't know, everyone's gonna make fun of me, but I don't care.
Okay, prepare yourself in the comment section.
Prepare. Get your like keyboards out and get ready, because just go ahead. It's burn me at the stake, because it's gonna happen. And by the way, Mark, you're gonna like this. We have Ring Fit.
Hell yeah.
My wife loves Ring Fit. Ring Fit's fucking amazing. All that shit. Blah blah blah. I started playing some Ring Fit, and guess what happened? I was not paying attention to the RPG elements, and I sold all my smoothie ingredients because I thought I need the gold to buy new gear, but I didn't have enough gold to buy new gear, and I went to the next level. And this is a fitness game, guys. I have to fucking run in place and fucking and I couldn't beat the boss because the boss like even if I'm full ab strength and I block, I do like full block, the boss still takes life away. And I didn't have the smoothies, so I literally had to play a level 3-4 times, and I still didn't have enough gold to like RPG my way through it. And the whole time I'm screaming at the game, I just want to work out. I don't give a fuck. Like what the fuck? I don't give a fuck about the fucking fuck. Like dude. And so I got filtered by Ring Fit RPG elements. I got filtered. And now I have to make
Dark Souls of fitness games, man.
Now I have to make custom workout playlist. I'm so mad.
So I was pretty disappointed that Elden Ring didn't have any fitness elements into it, but
yeah.
I legitimately confused it with that fitness game.
Oh, dude, there's a girl that plays it on a Stepmania mat, and she beat the entire thing, streamed and beat the entire thing on a Stepmania mat.
Nice.
There's always those streamers have been around for too long. I think they have a little cabal. I think they meet in person.
Like the Beatmania, Stepmania, and Mafia.
They have like hoods, and like they meet underground underneath an overpass, and they're just like, okay, the next Souls game is coming out. Does everyone have their Stepmania pads? Okay, who's gonna do the streaming? We gotta split the revenue. Can we split it down?
It's like that American Psycho card scene, but with the mats, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Custom.
So, all right, so fast forward, Bogog. You thought you were like, oh, whatever, another video game. I'm a dev. No problem.
Yeah, I thought it was a fitness game.
Whatever.
I thought it was a fitness game. You were like, too good to judge.
He's like working on Gunbane or something, or whatever he's like.
Yeah, Bogog was like
kind of professional type stuff.
Doing real work.
Yeah.
For real.
Oh yeah, of course.
So then what happened when you got the game?
I'm completely blanking out. I think.
Well, I have the Discord logs. I'll right here. He was feeling it when it came out. He was loving it.
Oh, you mean when I started playing it? Yeah. I was actually
when you got the game. Like, so you had no hype. Yeah, it was almost like
a mandatory thing. I'm like, okay, everyone's gonna fucking play it. Everyone's gonna talk about it for the next half a year. I gotta at least check it out now.
Exactly.
And I also played all the other Souls games. You know, I'm not gonna like completely hate it. Probably that's what I thought. Yeah, and initially it was.
Put it on the back of the box. I'm not gonna completely hate this game. You're not gonna completely hate this game, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Everyone's gonna talk about it. Just buy it, you dumb bitch.
Yeah, but then the first hours, like, oh god, this is great, because like it felt like they were starting to realize like the issues that started popping up in Dark Souls 3 and fixing them one by one. Like the combat, you know, in Dark Souls 1 it kind of got too R1 spammy, and the bosses started getting too string heavy at that point, though not nearly as string heavy as in Elden Ring. And what Elden Ring did that I found was really interesting, it had the jump, which you can actually use to jump over ground pound attacks. Yeah, it can then the jump attacks also let you crouch, which actually lets you bypass like high attacks. And I was like, oh shit, this is like kind of like a Sekiro type of thing where bosses have several moves and you can punish them in different ways. That's initially it kind of was like that, like when you fight those first 2 bosses. That's exactly how it is. And of course they made the stamina, like the boss the poise stamina thing more prominent. So it was like cool, because now it encourages aggression. Now if you punish every single move, like they stack.
Facts. This guy's a good analysis.
Really exciting. I was like, oh damn, they're really
This is absolutely the case. Elden Ring is very aggressive.
So that like first cave, and then I don't remember that much, but I remember like coming out of the cave, seeing the.
They really buffed everything other than just regular light attacks. Get this fucking guy out there.
Just walk straight. Yeah, that guy kicked my dick in.
Speaking facts, this guy knows what he's speaking on too mechanically. He's actually engaged with the game. Speaking to some Bloodborne fanboys, and they were completely confused as to how Elden Ring was supposed to be played. With how they changed the mechanics, they were completely unaware. Can't play aggressive in Elden Ring. Fuck you, told him not. Yeah, it was one of the most aggressive games I've ever seen in my life.
I have to start playing. Like, I have to figure this out. But I also noted that there were a million different places to go, and that kind of gave me a pretty big ton of anxiety of just like, well, I don't know where to go. But I was excited about like exploring this world, trying to figure out how to get this fucking horse, especially.
Yeah.
And I got the horse, and I used the horse very, very cheesily, extreme.
Oh hell yeah!
Like as much cheese as just like put it on my omelet, like to beat that fucking horse asshole that beat me up earlier by just running around and like double jumping with the horse and using and like learning. It still was hard to me. It took me like 10 tries to beat that guy or whatever. But along the way, I noticed some of the things that you noticed, but I also noticed like I noticed the new movesets, like the crouching attacks, some of the new jumping attacks.
Charge attacks as well, yeah.
Charge attacks, horse attacks. And I was as excited as you because I was like, I'll tell you, I was excited, but I had a very big issue in my first 4 hours of the game. I feel like it eats inputs. Now I'm playing on Xbox One X, not a Series X, just a 1X, but my 1X kicks ass still. And like I am playing the game in 4K, whatever, 30 frames per second. But I don't ever remember, even in 3 or 1, Dark Souls 1, to have like hit the button, like feel myself hit the button and nothing happens. Not like an input buffer where it's like I was doing something and then but just like a missed input completely.
Was this on the horse? Was this most common on the horse? I felt that way when I was attacking on the horse, but usually the issue is the input buffer. It's such a massive buffer.
Oh my god, yeah, buffer is like
yeah, input buffer is so disgusting. They're so awful.
Like that makes me.
They need to change that.
A lot of times in the old games, you can hit B, go have a sandwich, and then when your guy's done, he'd be able to do a dodge roll, right? Like in this game, I would hit B like 3 times, and he would literally be standing there. You can see it in my Crucible Knight video.
Oh yeah, that happened to me.
Doing nothing. It's because I hit parry and or dodge, and the game decided, nah, you don't need those. Just get hit.
I thought that was actually my wireless gamepad malfunction. Like I didn't know how much of that.
Having this issue, I think it's an actual issue.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure. I had like where I swore I dodged and my dude just didn't do anything. But I thought like it's probably my wireless gamepad acting, so I couldn't really.
Yeah, you wanna.
Well, for me, I was playing it in literally 480p, I think, on my computer.
With
graphics
There's a story to that.
Were you playing on CRT?
Yes.
And even without a CRT though, I had to do it because okay, so I bought the game on PC.
Oh, come on.
A decent gaming PC, a pretty good one. I was not prepared. I was not prepared for what I was about to experience. This is about half of my experience with Elden Ring is not playing it, but fighting with Steam refunds, trying to refund the game.
Oh.
Because it was, holy shit. So it ran like...
That crawler really fucked me over.
So I dropped it down.
That comes so late from that window, it's actually very irritating. I need to...
It turns into a PS2 game. But at least I got like 40 FPS out of it. And then I went in and like put in a little frame lock to try and lock it in at 40 FPS. So that's how I played it for 10 or 12 hours.
But I tell you how I played Dark Souls 3, because when it came out, I had really crappy graphics cards. So the way it worked is sometimes if I looked in a certain direction, there'd be a lot of stuff drawn on screen, and the game would just like dip to like 9 FPS or something. Right. And what would happen is during boss fights, I would have to control the camera manually and carefully and look at the floor, because if I looked at the frame rate just thing, yeah, I had to like straight up strategize.
What am I stuck on?
Dude,
that was my first experience. Yeah, that was my first experience. It's like the GoldenEye stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But I think it does feel like, where I'm going with that, I think it does feel like, part of me felt like the open world added a bunch of stuff, like, as far as content, and the other part
Headless.
the game was breaking, trying to figure it all.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, I was like, is this going to break apart at the seams? Because it felt like it was already breaking apart at the seams in the first
I had like an alternating cycle where I would get kind of bored when exploring the open world, and then the game would pull me back into like a boss or a decent dungeon. Yeah, it was like...
Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Another thing like early on that made me really appreciate the game that was kind of just me being stupid is I didn't realize for some reason I missed the prompt where you can like teleport if you open the map. I didn't realize you could actually teleport. I was so used to the bonfire teleports I was expecting it to show up there. But so what happened is when I actually explored the world, there was some danger to it because I couldn't like go too far away because you know go to like one of the later areas and get obliterated for the next 5 hours. I had to like carefully explore and try to find bonfires and stuff. It was really interesting because I felt excited. Like there was an excitement to the exploration. But when I realized that you could just teleport, it just turned into like an automatic boring process.
Yeah, I remember when I first got the horse, when I first started playing, and the thought that immediately came to my mind is, oh shit, this is like Ocarina of Time, or it reminded me a lot of a Zelda game, but in a better way. It's like, okay, let's take Zelda, but make it
Zelda for grown-ups, dude.
Yeah, exactly what it felt like. It really did feel like Zelda for grown-ups. And man, I had a lot of fun fighting things on that horse. That was probably my favorite part of the game, was getting on the horse and just rocking the shit out of people on the horse and horseback combat. And it even had stuff like pay attention to what side you're slicing on. Like if you're right-handed, you gotta attack from the right. And choosing things out on the horse. That was my favorite, absolutely my favorite part of the game, is the horse.
I almost never used the horse for combat, because like the way you have to pivot around enemies, like circle them, the camera spins like the entire time, and you just like spin around them mashing R1. Man, I hated the horse. I almost never used it for combat besides like a few bosses and some mandatory stuff.
See, I can back you up here. Say, I don't agree. I loved the horse. I thought the horse added so much to the game because, one, you have real movement speed. You can do all these crazy jump strategies. And whenever I was having trouble with a boss, I was like, let's just beat the shit out of him while riding the horse if I can. So that was my go-to every time, is let's get on the horse and just kick the shit out of people.
I think the different horse attacks for the different weapons are really, really cool. Like, for example, I picked Uchigatana, the samurai, to start with, and he drags it along the ground for the heavy attack, and it just looks so fucking cool. Like,
oh yeah, the heavy attack's awesome.
And the heavy attack just, and then if you pick and it slices people's shins when it's dragging across the ground. So it's not just
you can multi-hit them. You can multi-hit them.
Yeah, so I'm like hitting these peewees for like 10% while I'm slicing, and when that attack comes up, it just bodies whatever's on the right side. To your point, Boghog, I'm missing the attack, so I'm trying to time it like a joust. Like I'm jousting with this fucking guy. Like I'm trying to time my heavy attack. He's gonna knock me off my horse, and it's fucking cool.
Yeah, the horse
like,
combat is really fun.
Amazing.
Yeah, but that felt too high effort for me. So I just like circle around and slash. So that's what I ended up doing. I mean, if you put extra effort into making it cool, I guess it could be cool. But like, how?
Well, I think that's important, right? Because I think like a lot of RPG games in general, they're designed in a way that
My shot missed and then my knife?
you're supposed to be in the world.
Where did you go?
You're making decisions.
Where are you?
Not being funneled into a solution by the
Cunt.
not waving away bad level design and things like that. Like I'm with you. Like I'm not even gonna argue with you on that. Like you're right. Like level design is really important. But I think being able to like jump in the shoes of this wandering samurai, I've got this full samurai gear. You know, I've got this horse, and I'm just exploring this world, and I'm doing things because it looks cool, because I think it's cool, and I'm having a good time doing it. Versus like, oh, this is clearly not the most optimal way to do it, but I'm gonna do it because you know the visuals and the kind of emotion of being in that environment had compelled me at the time to do it. So I just think that's like not something that we'll discuss, the three of us, because I feel like we're pretty gameplay heavy players. But I think it's not something to be like washed away, because
I think it's pretty central.
It's important.
I'm gonna back. I promise you, I can back you up. These conversations, and I got one for you. So I definitely know what Boghog's saying with this. Like you can spam and cheese out so much bullshit on the horse, and there does kind of come a reductive moment where you realize, oh shit, I can circle strafe the crap out of everyone and just slash the shit out of everything. But my rebuttal to that, Bog, isn't that a part of these character action RPGs? Like, has a character action RPG ever successfully got around that issue of? I'm even thinking even character action games like Ninja Gaiden 2, the greatest of all time. If you want, you can just spam the spam the shit out of everything if you want. But it makes the game lame if you do that. But you can just UT spam your way through almost the entire game.
Hold on, let me add another one. Ninja Gaiden 1, if you're not flying sparing the fuck out of every boss, like, are you even playing? Because, like, literally all I would do is jump, flying spare. Yeah. There's one boss, I remember flying sparing back and forth, and I was just, like, eating a fucking sandwich while doing it, and the boss just died.
Yeah, they disable that on the higher difficulties. They start blocking.
Yeah, they start blocking. Yeah, and then in 2, they really beat you down if you do too many high flying
Don't play the higher difficulties in the first Ninja Gaiden. It's miserable. It's absolutely...
It's okay.
It's depressing. But no,
I think Mark's question is interesting, though, so
yeah, it's important, because I think usually the way the games balance this is by basically making those cheesy tactics more unintuitive or obscure, right? That's one of the central things with Elden Ring. Yeah, it's like if you could UT spam, but then you need to like memorize all the enemy locations, figure out where like those like souls come from, like the items. You know, you gotta figure out where to position yourself. It feels like really unintuitive, completely the opposite of what you normally do. But with the horse,
Exactly.
it's such an obvious way to.
It's too easy.
It's too convenient, easy. It's too intuitive. Like you naturally fall into that playstyle. I feel like I have to consciously stop myself from doing that.
Right. So you didn't enjoy circling and slashing the shit out of things. I really love it.
I just stopped using the horse.
Maybe that's why I did it.
See, that's interesting because
I loved it.
instead of playing it on the horse in a more fun way, I just discarded the horse because it felt like too unintuitive to play in a fun way. And I think I enjoyed the combat more after that.
I definitely see what you mean there. I do think that combat design-wise, off-horse is way more polished and well done because the horse is this whole new thing. But I guess I really appreciated what the unique gameplay experience came on.
Oh, are you serious?
To find a good horse combat in a video game, it's like none of them exist. Ocarina of Time, horse combat, stupid. All of the Zelda games, horse combat, stupid. This was the first game where I was like, oh, I can actually like beat the shit out of things while riding
You
a
gotta
horse.
play Knights of the Round, dude. That's the best horse in video games.
Well, not 2D. Yeah, 2D. Yeah, there's some good 2D ones. I'm talking 3D.
No, yeah, but I think I'm actually interested in this because Bob, you said something very interesting. So like, I am 30 hours into the game. Like that's it. I'm not that far into it. I've gotten past Limgrave. I was asking my friend for some advice because I was telling him I was like, I'm enjoying the game, but I feel like it's really slow. Like I'm just not finding enough stuff. Like I feel like I'm having to hunt for the fun a little bit too much. And their advice was just like, dude, stop doing the thing that you do. Like you're because in Dark Souls 3, I would look behind every rock, every
Yes, you can't do that in Elden Ring.
Like I would literally be like, what's over there? And like I would smash every fucking vase. Like why not? Like right? Like that's how I play. And so I play Elden Ring, and I'm literally like, oh, I gotta do this. Oh, it's on
There's nothing. There's nothing.
Well, no. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true actually. I think there are things. You're getting Ashes of War. You're getting actual abilities. You're getting weapons. Sometimes you're getting some basic shit. It's not just like souls in a chest, which I would hate. Right? There are things. But I think are there relevant things? Good point. Maybe not to your build or whatever. But But I think the problem that I had with it was and this is coming back to what you said is like if I were to get off my horse and play this game like Dark Souls 3, I'm kind of playing it wrong. I feel like the horse, the speed of the horse, the ability that the horse has to just carve through the open world is there so you can get to the next maybe cooler thing and skip. Like it almost feels like you're like riding on the horse and you see 100 dudes and a guy with a banner. You have a choice, right?
That's one of my criticisms actually, because after a while it becomes way too time consuming, way too like repetitive, and way too difficult to fight normal enemies. So you just run past them all. Like the open world,
I agree with you.
Becomes filler after all. But what you said,
Sekiro has that issue too. Just to say, Sekiro, you can just fucking Spider-Man over everything. Why bother with that, right?
Well, you can do that in Dark Souls 1 and 3 too. Just run past everything to the boss. Like how many times have people done that? You fight him the first time, right? And like good. Like
yeah, isn't that just an issue with the series? That
it is an issue with the series, yeah, I'd say. But the problem is that you're spending so much time navigating the open world, like exploring. But
exactly, it's compounded.
And one of the things that makes it extra like it makes me want to point out is because people praise Dark Souls Elden Ring's open world a lot. Like they say it's new, it's unique. But one of the things that a lot of my favorite open world games do, it just doesn't do. For example, it doesn't have a proper AI life simulation system. The enemies just kind of are plopped there like a MMORPG, right? It doesn't. The exploration. Like,
wait,
yeah.
Hold on now, Boghog.
Yeah.
MMORPGs.
I'm gonna
you don't know what you're talking about. Explain.
Well, for example, you're playing Stalker, right? Even Skyrim, you're playing Stalker, and they have these simple life simulation kind of AI.
I know what you're saying.
Does that mean like they're out watching the clothes?
Enemies will be like patrolling the world.
They sleep, they shit.
Okay.
Well,
I'm dead.
They patrol the area, fight with other enemies, fight with NPCs. There's like various events.
I don't just try a whole round just standing by the nades and see if I can do it.
But like the world feels dead. The only times when enemies fight other enemies, like specific set pieces that repeat every time you go.
Right.
There's nothing dynamic happening in the open world. I feel.
So I will give Boghog that because it does really feel like you're going through, and the enemies are just kind of like sometime the player will come through here, but they're not really up to anything. They're just kind of.
My favorite is when you're walking past and some goblin like is disguised as a bush. Okay, was he just sitting there all the time? Waiting for someone to.
But Boghog, wait a minute. What if, because he's a goblin, right? What if it's the nature of a goblin to do that? They're like, how Venus flytraps just hang out and be flowers all day?
I love this side of Mark MSX. This is my favorite side of Mark MSX.
That's the biology of the goblin, huh?
Yeah, what if it's its natural behavior, like a jellyfish? It just hangs out as a bush. Whatever comes by, it attacks.
But then how do you explain that there's a bear disguised as a normal enemy?
That's how he hunts. He tricks his prey that way. They're like, oh shit, it's a normal enemy. Bam, bear, and then he eats them.
Okay, that's fair actually.
No, and actually Mark is employing a defense that I do have against this argument, and it's what I was going to say, but I wanted to hear you out just to make sure I understood what you were saying. So I agree with you, by the way. I do think the world feels dead. I think especially when you're going through areas that don't have any enemies, that should just not happen in Dark Souls game.
Yeah, and also
no reason for a dead section. But let me answer your other point, and then we'll come back to this point. Because
I might actually forget about this quick. One of the things.
No. I will not allow it.
Broke debate. I took it. No, go on. This is not even. I'm saying that it feels dead in a way that it shouldn't. Because Elden Ring isn't there like Dark Souls. It's not like a dead world. The armies are still technically fighting. Okay, continue.
You mean the lore? And I
like the lore, yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, lore, yeah.
Okay. But I think Dark Souls has always been a series where, like, you heard Miyazaki talk about it, right? Why was it created? Why was Demon Souls created? Why is it designed in a certain way? He would read fantasy novels. You guys know about this? He would read fantasy novels as a kid.
No, but I know nothing of the lore.
Okay.
Let me give Mark the quick Miyazaki lore. So like, and the viewers, of course, the viewers of the channel. So he would read fantasy novels, but they were in English or other languages that he couldn't understand fully, and he couldn't speak. Like, he can't read English that well. So he would, like, this is as a kid, right, as a child. He would read these and kind of just pick up enough details to know what was going on and fill in the rest in his head. That was like his version of imagination. So like when he made these games, it's clear that there's like the flavor text in the items, and there's enough going on that you get a sense of lore. I'm talking about Dark Souls 1. I mean, obviously this has changed and evolved, right? Sekiro is very fucking specific about his lore. Like, it's not that there's nothing to talk about, right? But the point of the matter is that he's done this for a while, and it's for a reason. You're supposed to be able to fill in some of the gaps on your own, and that's purposeful, right?
Right.
And some of the best games. So like, I agree with you on the world being lived in and all that kind of stuff. But I think that some of the best actiony games, like a Shadow of the Colossus, or even like a Breath of the Wild or something like that, like, it's more about being in the space than it is about the space inhabiting some kind of So like, there's most of my moments in Elden Ring where I just like stopped and like took a screenshot, had no one fighting, right?
I have over 1,000 screenshots.
Yeah, but it's the moment where it's like you're just like, holy fuck! Like one, I was over there. It's like all that bullshit open world shit that people talk about when they're.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They really like playing.
It's
Well, they don't find God.
archaeological.
But
It's
they find
archaeological.
video game God when they're playing. I look out
Jesus.
and I see everything in the distance, and I feel who I am inside and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm like, sure.
Well, it's not that. It's not that. I'm gonna make it more game dev. I'm gonna bring it from art down to game dev, so Bogok can actually have a part in this conversation. Jokes.
So my game dev break can understand, yeah.
Yeah, so your game dev break can
Some tiny game dev
The
break.
difference. Oh, come on.
Your lizard brain.
I don't rub it in too far. So like, to me, game dev wise, conceptually, the idea is not that I can go there or I was there, right? When you're in Orlando or if you're in a different place, if you're in a castle and you see the castle from a distance in a different environment. The idea is not like I can go there and I can fucking jump scam my way up this mountain and go look at this castle. That's not the point. The point is that I remember what happened there and it was meaningful to me. And that memory is what's
like
supposed to be.
gameplay-wise?
So like, yeah, gameplay wise, like,
look
oh,
at
the
the castle,
fucking
you're like,
birds with the fucking
castle
blades
sucks.
beat my ass
Dude,
there.
Yeah.
those birds are amazing. I love those birds.
Those
One of
birds
the
beat my
coolest
ass.
designs I've ever seen.
That first castle has so much in it that if there's 2 more of those, the game will have been worth my $60. Hell, if there's 1 more of those, the game will have been worth my $60.
That's still the best area to me.
Take the rest of the game and light it on fire because that castle blew my shit. And it's not about can I go there and this and that. It's about like there's a building the size of a castle and going through the different rooms and navigating it in different ways and finding all the secrets was just to me like oh my god, like holy fuck. Like, and now when I look back at that castle, I remember shit and go like, right, there's hopefully Boghog saying there isn't, so I haven't played the rest of the game. I hope there is. Hopefully more areas like that where I can look back and go like, I spent 12 hours navigating this giant castle and it was insane.
But they're not as good at IMO. They're still good. Like they're fine. They're just that first one. It has like a narrative to it. It has a
narrative to it.
Yeah, you start off like with these clean quarters, you know. You see like, and then you go into underneath it. You see some all kinds of abominations in there. You slowly discover the concept of crafting and everything. It's fucking awesome.
So here's the problem with Skyrim
open world
or Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, to defend the open world a bit. I have played a few open world games. The one I played the most is Metal Gear Solid 5, and by God, it's just literally like dirt and grass, like half the game.
Yep.
Like I get, whatever, he wanted to spend as much money as possible. He wanted to spend as much of Konami's money as possible on that game, but it did not need to be an open world game. And the parts of the game that are the best are the parts that you can tell it's like, all right, let's actually just make a level here. And
yeah, with Elden Rings, it's not like so. Acting, your point is that the encounters aren't like the AI isn't dynamic, so they have more control over how you how the kind of experiences you have, or what?
My point is more that like having the life cycles and the AI wouldn't enhance this video game.
It wouldn't. I think it would enhance the open world because the problem.
I agree, but I don't want this to be an open world video game. It just happens to be one.
Okay, well, yeah.
Well, that's a good point though, Boghog, because is the appeal of Elden Ring really that it's an open world game, or is the appeal all the other shit that's not the open world?
To me, it's not the open world, but a lot of people talk about like how majestic the exploring Limgrave is.
Well, is that reviewers? Because that's all reviewers are capable of talking about.
No,
reviewers have no ability to discuss combat or mechanics,
Mark
boss
started.
design, level design. I'm serious. All reviewers can do, like all the Kotakus and IGNs, all they can talk about is how majestic the open world is and blah blah blah.
No, I think I'll answer it very succinctly. Like, I don't think Elden Ring is an open world game. I just think it has a very, very big world map that happens to have a lot of space. Like, it's not that
True.
It's 1 or 3, it's just the map is huge, very big. Yeah.
True.
Like you say,
It's just big Dark Souls.
I would agree. I thought it was open world. That's why I was confused when people were saying it wasn't. I was like, isn't Dark Souls one open world?
Yeah, it's fair. Dude, like, here's the thing, man. The amount of NPCs in that game and the amount of shit that's fucking going on, if, like, NPCs were moving from one place to a fucking other because they actually had motivations like that, this game would be worse. That guy's got to better sit there on that stoop until I'm ready to continue his fucking quest. Because if he's moving around, I'm gonna never find his ass.
They played the Stalker games.
Yeah, I played. I know what you're saying, but the soccer games are very condensed compared to.
Yeah, the hub world games. Yeah. Well, I was thinking
Thank God, because I had it. I was like, oh shit, he's got me.
No.
How are you out already?
I think Stalker is a game where you are mostly doing one thing. Would you agree? Like you're not like.
Isn't it an FPS game?
Yeah,
it is. And the thing about Stalker is like it's almost like, well, actually, Bob, you're probably better equipped. I haven't beaten Stalker, but I've only played like maybe 10 hours as a kid. Stalker's very good, but I think like Stalker is one of those things. Again, it goes down to like it's like a simulation of a role that you're in, but that role is very kind of like this. Whereas I think Elden Ring is like there is no role. I mean, there's some lore or whatever. Fuck it. Like
you're not on a horse though. You're not fucking shit up on a horse. You gotta give out
shooting from a horse. Just shooting from a horse.
Wait, isn't that World War I? You did shit like that?
Maybe the modded Stalker. Yeah, probably the modded.
I was gonna lose my mind. It's like, man, I didn't play long enough. Fuck.
Mutant horses, you miss those.
But do you really think, Boghog? Do you really think that if there were Skyrim elements and like people like living, eating, and like sleeping in beds and shit? No, yes, enemies. Like, dude, if I rolled up into a Dark Souls castle and it was at nighttime and the enemies were sleeping, I would literally refund the game immediately.
You're like taking a shit. You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, like what is this? This is not Skyrim. I don't want Skyrim.
Let me defend myself. Not the castle.
No, you get nothing.
Okay, the castles
are good. The castles are good because there's like a narrative to it. You're exploring like I said, like there's a specific experience they're built around. But open world games like plop down enemies almost randomly. There's some set pieces where it feels like okay, here maybe there's a lot of jellyfish. You can figure out they're kind of like meant to be spirit or something. Yeah, but because the enemy encounters are often so generic, it feels like if they added some kind of life simulation, you could have a more dynamic experience. Like imagine you're roaming through a forest and like a boss just like waltzes in there. You see him in the distance or something. Like if they roamed around more.
Oh, okay. So you're saying you want the bosses not to be like X marks the spot. Here's the boss. Like the boss has like a little route it eats in the morning and it goes kind of around and patrols the area.
Enemies in general. The problem is it's really difficult for technically. It's like insanely difficult, especially
yes, because let's say you did that and then the poor player's going along and like the boss and 500 enemies are like all together in one area randomly and like, oh shit.
That's fucking awesome. That's the kind of experience you want in an open world game, right?
I think it happened to me and I was very disappointed, and I'll explain. So the first dragon that you find in the first swamp, very cool boss fight to me. Honestly, I fought him on the horse, and it was like cool. That fire was like on. It was like singeing my goat horse's ass, like as I was fucking fighting. So here's what happened. I fought and I have the clip. I can show you guys the clip. I fought this horse in where it was supposed to be, where it lives, right? Like you said, Dog, it lives in a particular spot. It's a very small spot too, but it lives there. And I'm fighting this boss. I'm on the horse. It's way more epic than any other Dark Souls I've ever experienced because of the horse and the scale of the fight, right? The scale of the fight is 10x what I've ever seen in a Dark Souls game because I'm on a horse. And this dragon's chasing me around. He's jumping up. He's strafing. But the combat's good. It's not like Skyrim. So I'm like, whoa.
Well, at least I got a reward for that.
That's on the
teleports.
No, he landed. He landed on top of the land, and he's spewing fire. And that's why I noticed that the fire was kind of like a shmup. It's like an actual like physical object that descends down. It's not like a physical fire. It's like a physical thing that falls off of things. Yeah. And I was like, holy fuck, this game's fucking. This is like that Capcom fucking trash ass game, Dragon's Dogma. It's like that, but good. And like all this shit. And then I ran up there to fight him. Like I was like, oh, he's up there. I'm gonna get him. And like I ran my horse up there, and like triple jumping my horse up there to fucking fight this guy. And as I got up to that land, he reached his boss limit.
What's that?
Teleported his ass. Oh, he just disappeared.
And reappeared.
And he fucking just literally disappeared and reappeared in the swamp. Now the good news is,
oh, that sucks. Okay, if that's happening, I'm on bog side now. You can't have that.
Oh!
Let's start teleporting around.
My aim is whack.
I think he's right. Like technically, it's very.
How are you out? Stay in the fucking closet.
A real like true open world jank where
please.
It's the game in ways that neither of you want. You know, like, hey, let me lure the dragon to the castle. Like, no, dude, guys, come on.
Like you're fighting the first boss and the dragon shows up as you're fighting.
Yeah, he shows up. Yeah. Like, oh shit. Like,
well, the one good thing is that because it's open world, and there's options, you can actually just, if you run into too difficult of an encounter, you just like ignore it and run away. So you know those kinds of insane. Like you turn the corner and you see an army approaching you, you're going right for your ass. You know.
Wouldn't that be kind of lame though? Like in practicality, where you're having to just sit around all the time. Like, okay, I gotta wait for these guys to move in their path. Like it's almost like a stealth game, but in an ugly way. It's like, okay, I gotta wait for this dude to run his entire route before I.
It's the thing that fucking sucks about Monster Hunter, because in Monster Hunter you go into an area and you have to fight this boss, but they're in some god for fucking sake area out of 13 areas, and you're just like literally just doing this like for 4 areas trying to find a stupid ass boss, and it's like I don't want to play that game.
But yeah, let me be clear though. I don't want bosses to just roam around anywhere. Like for example, the mid bosses, the generic mid bosses that appear in the game, like that big bear, for example. Yeah, those can roam around. Those can like waltz into.
So if we're talking about bosses,
it would have to be
Like that is a good point. So is it completely static? I guess we have to establish that.
Yeah, it's almost like
it's damn close.
Yeah, it's really close. That's why I compared it to an MMO. You know, because MMOs have these like spawn zones where enemies respawn every once in a while, and you can go into those spawn zones, they aggro, and you walk out, they just like go backward. I don't know what they do.
But you should love that, Mark, because it's like, hey, you know, like predictability of gameplay is important. Because and like let me back up. Like it's like to me, it's like I don't want to have to search for shit. That's my biggest criticism.
Yeah.
Don't make me search for the gameplay, right? And like the less things move, the more likely I am to find them and fight them. Because the most important part of the game, the best part of the game, fighting shit, right? So don't make me not fight shit at times.
Well, then it feels like you're completely giving up on exploration. I mean, that's fine.
No, let's talk about that.
Yeah, because that's the problem. Is if you start throwing in Mark MSX ideas, this bitch ends up a linear level-based game. What ends up happening? I start cutting out exploration. I start cutting out RPG mechanic. It just turns into an action game, basically.
No, it's okay. I think like I get what you're saying, Bogog, and I think like I'm two minds about it. I think for me, immersion gameplay is important, but I think I don't expect it out of these games, and I never kind of have. So it's like immersion gameplay for me, it doesn't really like I don't know how it would fit in that genre in like a meaningful way, but I do think that exploration is important, and I think that exploration can be as simple as your level design, right? What you find and what you can do and how you can interact with the world. Doesn't mean that things have to be necessarily very dynamic. I just think that it just means that things have to be like each place has to have an interesting, like an intuitive path through it that leads you through most things, and then there's like 20% of shit that's behind a cave or a waterfall or some fucking godforsaken shit that like you'll never find, but if you really sat down, like for me, the stone key that opens the very first dungeon that's locked in the game, that's by the tutorial area, that godforsaken place. I went back, I put the stone sword key in, I did that dungeon. Did I like it? No, but there was I actually hated it, but I think there was stuff in there where I was just like, okay, this is exploratory in nature. It's like it's optional in nature, right? And I think like exploratory can mean optional. It can mean discovery. It can mean the same as that castle. Like you stumble upon this castle and you're going through nooks and crannies, things like. I don't think the castle has to necessarily be dynamic for it to be a fun thing to explore, because that castle is 100% static, but still very fun to explore.
Well, yeah,
but the open areas, like I can see where Bog's coming here. Like the open areas where you're just riding around on your horse.
Yeah, ideally you could do that. You could like design the open world to have like so many unique and interesting encounters, so it feels like a big version of that castle. Like realistically, you're gonna just plop around enemies, like generally, like maybe even procedurally randomize the enemies and then just lock them in or something. It's not gonna be like realistically, you can't really guarantee that the open world will be that tightly designed. So I think a better way to go about it to use more immersion stuff for the open world and have like really structured set pieces and dungeons.
Yeah, I think you're right.
What are your other thoughts on the open worlds now that we're getting into like the meat of the open world discussion? So you felt that the enemy was too static. What were your other thoughts on that? My thoughts were I couldn't really tell what my initial impressions of the open world were, because it felt like the best open world game that
keep slashing at me.
Seriously, a lot better than Metal Gear Solid 5, a lot better than Breath of the Wild, a lot better than
Breath of the Wild.
Skyrim. I thought it was way better than all of those.
In terms of the open world design, not because like it's designed, it has almost all the same flaws, but like the main thing it does is it actually makes navigation interesting. So you're always like looking where you can climb, where you can like take a shorter route, where you can fly.
But the horse
just feels like a faster dude, you know. That's
what makes it awesome. I disagree because I like Elden Ring's open world a lot more than Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild, I was like, boring, snooze fest, stamina. I mean, Elden Ring for one gets rid of the stupid stamina when you run. That's beautiful. And then you can ride your horse and you can like move around real quick with your horse like. And
the stamina makes it so that you have to like pay attention to how tall the cliff is. You know what you can climb it. And then if you climb on a cliff, you can paraglide or surf. Okay.
I like the horse. The horse can just jump up the cliff. The horse, forget it. The horse can like find a
jump scam.
You can jump scam up stuff. Jump around things. I love that.
You know what sucks about the horse? The double jump. Jesus, like you can't soften your landing with the double jump. You can like double jump.
That was stupid. Actually, that is really stupid. Yeah, because when you jump off of something and you fucking die, like that is so fucking annoying.
It's so unintuitive. You cancel all momentum. You do like softly land as soft as a feather and just
you know the part about that sucks too gameplay wise, Foghog, is the cases where they're like edge cases where you're like, would I make it? Obviously the idea is, okay, player, we don't want you jump scamming too much, so we're gonna put this death ball mechanic in, even if you do try to double jump. But there's some cases where you're like, would it work? And then you have to like take the risk, and then you die. Motherfucker.
See, the reason I like Zelda is because like it took those edge cases and built the game out of them. Because like you know, like in Elden Ring, you're climbing the cliff, you can like jump on these like small little platforms inside the cliff, and you're like, could I make it? Could I do it? Could I maybe land on this? And it feels really janky. But in Zelda, it's a consistent system, so you can kind of like.
I would say if they got rid of that stupid death ball thing, I would still greatly prefer Elden Ring. If they
fucking radiator.
I think like the death ball thing doesn't add anything to the game. Like there's no reason not to let you fall 4,000 feet to your death to some part where like literally you're gonna hit the ocean and die, or you're gonna get into a bunch of enemies that are gonna kick your ass and fucking anyways. There's no reason for
I don't get it. That's
all damage to the game at all. Like it's like why? Like it's like
the crawlers was so unfortunate.
You play a little bit. I think part of it's like
Is there a way to turn them off in World at War?
The older games, in the older games, always used to literally strictly.
On one crawlers.
You can sequence break too much, but here's like you can just. There's so much broken stuff in this game that it feels completely unnecessary. Like they just kept it as a relic almost. Didn't really think about changing it.
Or maybe I should just not nade them over there and wait for them to. Yeah, that sounds like a better idea actually.
Okay, so what do you think about the open world as far as improvements that you would like to see, Fog? Because I definitely grant the stupid double jump death thing, that was retarded, so that needs to go. I'm kind of on board a bit with the idea of moving enemy around a little bit, but I don't like the idea of having them just wander too much, because I do kind of like Octane's idea of it being more of kind of like a level a little more static, even if it is sort of spread out everywhere. Because
I'd have to like think about it a lot. You could go that way. You could keep like the size of the open world and you could make it more dynamic, make the AI more dynamic. Think about like the little settlements of enemies and maybe have them interact. Or you could go the way Octane suggests. But then I think you'd have to reduce the size of the levels. And you're basically at the early Dark Souls games with the like semi open world.
What about just throwing more enemies in there? Just beef up that enemy count.
But what's the point? But why would you fight them? Why would you fight them?
I know that's right. See, open world design. Open world damn design. Why?
Yeah,
this is why I don't like it.
Yeah, because you can't like they don't give much souls so to prevent you from grinding them. They're not like unique. The enemies aren't unique. You can fight them in other dungeons. Then what else? There's too many ways to cheese them, so it feels like if you want to fight them, you gotta like make it challenging for yourself. I don't know. It feels like the enemies are almost designed.
This is a good question though, Fog. Yeah? Has the game ever solved this issue of open world design? Has it ever actually been solved? This issue of ultimately what motivates you to engage with the open world? Because I've never really seen it. So, and you're a little more first. We're talking about, so I was suggesting maybe one idea would be just to up the enemy count to make the open world more interesting, just have more enemies hanging out. And he thought, well, what would be your motivation to fight them? Why wouldn't you just go past them or fast travel or whatever you do?
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, damn it, open world, this is the issue you run into. So the question I posed was, has any game solved this though? Is this Elden Ring specifically, or has any open world game solved this problem of, well, why fight in the first place?
Not perfectly, no. There's
why do you... I don't understand the premise, because you don't have to fight. You can just ride your horse for 10
yeah, but then...
Well, he says that's boring. That like boring, just run around on your horse.
I'll explain. I do think there's a point to the open world, because I think traversal is an important part of game design.
But I don't think traversal is very interesting in Elden Ring compared to like Breath of the Wild, for example.
So
that's another issue. There's like two issues.
But the speed of the horse, I like Elden Ring more, because you're hauling some ass, at least. There's at least that feeling. I don't like Breath of the Wild's traversal because there's like stamina bars. And, it just feels like you're just walking around, and it feels like a chore to me. Elden Ring at least feels a little more fun. You're like riding around the horse, slicing stuff up, killing stuff on the horse.
I think it's okay to do light traversal. This is light traversal, right? This isn't like you said, Bogog. There's fast travel, and or whatever. Like you don't even have to traverse. Like you get to that bonfire, guess what? You're probably not. Like you're like, I'm good. I've kind of been there, and you might miss stuff doing stuff like that. But I think like in a game, like I think not bloating, maybe that's the wrong word. But like I think incorporating more into this game is not necessarily the answer. To me, the answer is tightening up what's there.
Yeah, the other suggestion I said was making the open world smaller so it's more feasible to
I heard that.
make it more. Yeah, but then we're just back to Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, right? We're just back to that kind of formula.
Isn't that better? Like, would you say Dark Souls 1's level design is better than Elden Ring?
Yeah.
Topic. What do you think?
I don't know. Wait, I don't know. That castle is amazing. That castle is truly amazing.
But like proportionally, Dark Souls 1 is really consistent. It doesn't feel like like Elden Ring's highs I think are really high, especially that castle. But like it's just so uneven. Like I said, I went through periods of really massive boredom, and then like oh this is cool.
Yeah.
Boredom.
I remember feeling that way in the lake. I'm thinking about the lake Octane. Like when I was riding around in that swamp, I was like, at first I was like, this is sick. I love this. But then after a few hours, I'm like, okay, I'm literally just lost in a swamp here.
Yeah, once the visuals like were out, once you so I don't know. The way I don't think any game solved the issue of skipping enemies. I think like there's been good attempts. Like Stalker is
you can do it in Witcher.
You can do it. You can't do it in Witcher.
Well, maybe you can. I guess it depends on if you're doing open world boss fight or if you're doing. I think you just die in the Witcher. Like once you trigger a boss in the Witcher 3 and you fight that boss, you just have to fight it. Like you can't.
Some of the worst movements I've ever
not trigger it, or you can determine like you don't want to go
executed.
The game where there is combat. Because Witcher 3 does this thing where it clearly delineates this is a non-combat area and this is a combat area.
Oh no.
In a non-combat area, you can't do exactly.
Yeah, but
exactly. It's spot on. It's exactly what it is. But I'm not saying that it solved the issue. But I am saying like once you get into a battle, you can't like back yourself out of battle.
Yeah, I guess my final thoughts on the open world, and I'll let you two battle out the final thoughts, is I agree with Bog's criticisms of the open world, but at the same time, I've just never seen it done better. That's my only thing, is like, I don't like open world games, but Elden Ring was the one I was like, at least this one is doable for me. I kind of like riding around the horse, slicing stuff up, and like I said, it was light enough where I wasn't like...
It feels like to you it's good because it doesn't get in the way, so you don't appreciate it because it's an open world. You just appreciate it as like a non-issue, right?
Yes.
But I want games that, if they do an open world, it feels like they should make it more engaging, you know, get the best out of the open world design that they can. I don't think any game solved the issue of you being able to skip enemies, but some did like some interesting stuff with resources, because one of the good ways to encourage you to fight enemies is to create a really strong resource economy. So always using something, you always have to get it back from enemies, you know? And of course, FPS games have an easier time because enemies can attack you from afar. In Elden Ring, it's mostly melee, so it's easier to skip. But yeah, like, if you have a really strong resource economy, like say you have like bullets, you can't buy bullets, you gotta scavenge them from enemies or something. And there's more reason to like take out a group of enemies, see what they have, like quickly pick it up, and then just go about your way. I feel like that's a good way to encourage.
How would they even do that in a Dark Souls type game though? Because you don't want to do like weapon durability or anything, do you? Or do you?
Yeah, they tried that a bit. I don't know. That's a big question. That like required a lot of thinking. Because you know, like any suggestion you give would have like a million knock-on effects. For example, if you like, okay, maybe you have limited estus, but then how would that play in the dungeon? That would probably suck in the dungeons. I don't know.
What if here's a crazy idea? What if they had a mechanic? This would drive open world players insane. I think I'd like it though. Where you're slowly dying. You have like this timer and it's slowly going down. In order to survive, you have to kill things to keep.
Oh my lord.
That was so stupid.
Sounds kind of old, but that's like crazy.
Just got stuck in that zombie.
Like an arcade game, like Crazy Taxi or something.
People despise it though. My god.
Yeah, suck blood.
You just get like mobs from your home.
What's the problem with skipping enemies though? That's why you make an open world game. You don't make an open world game to funnel people. You can't. It's like antithesis to the design of an open world game. The whole point of an open world game is there's 47 things in front of you. You're gonna do the ones you want to, and you're gonna be forced to do some of the ones you don't want to, so that you can progress the game forward. Because the game is gonna force you to do it, right? Like it's not gonna let you move on because the bridge is up and you can't get off the bridge, or like other shit's happening.
I think you're describing sandbox games, not open world games. Open world games, there's like they want to encourage some kind of playstyles, behaviors. They're not like complete playgrounds where you do whatever you want.
No, I'm not talking about playgrounds. I'm talking about what's optional and what's.
Well, isn't that the idea of an open world game?
Skype, right?
Like the idea is you basically can skip shit. Isn't that sort of the idea?
Yeah.
Like you can skip stuff.
Like it's like having like the discussion of why we make fights non-optional.
But I guess
not an open world game discussion to me.
Right. I guess the problem is like why would you skip shit? I think that's the big question for me now.
I agree.
True.
And I think that games where you're replaying stuff, and this comes back to shmups, and you guys have heard me talk about this a million times. Games where you're replaying stuff, having the option to skip stuff you've already done, if there is no upside to it, like you don't want to play around and try to fight those enemies a different way, or there's no meaningful XP gain, or there's just nothing to do. Let players skip that shit. That's why fast travel exists, right? No one wants to.
Yeah, but doesn't that kind of feel like blame design, where you're skipping enemies because enemy encounters because they feel boring to fight? You're not skipping them because like
I agree with Bob, but the problem is that it's kind of the premise that I have an issue with, and that's the problem. Is like we start fighting into it too much, and we're basically just removing open world games.
I guess I just like open world games to be more kind of like survivalish rather than sandboxy. Because that's what
Mark is saying. Mark is saying that make it so you can't like make it so you're poisoned or some shit. And so you can't fucking,
so that's my idea as well with resource economies. It's just like
I think
less forceful.
But I think that makes exploration shit. So if you want exploration, you can't have that. Because Dark Souls 2 had the thing. How? What do you mean how? Like, dude, if I'm going in, I'm gonna explain it. If I'm going in a particular mountain, but I would never go up this mountain because, like, let's take Mark's example. If you're poisoned and you can only have 60 seconds before you go up this mountain.
2 minutes. You got 2 minutes.
Like,
I'll give you 2 minutes.
Whatever. Yeah, I'm still not gonna. It's the same thing as fucking Zelda stamina. It's like you look at your stamina bar and you go, yeah, not gonna go up there. It's not gonna do it.
Mark's example is a little bit brutal, but imagine like if
doesn't matter. Survival is the opposite of exploration.
I don't think it's the opposite of exploration. It just structures your exploration. For example, imagine if you have a limited amount of bullets, right? And there's a natural incentive to kind of like find encounters. You can only
Resident Evil 4. That's a good. It's not an open world game, but Resident Evil 4 is like the one game where I go around and look for shit because I need bullets. It's like the one game I do that.
Yeah, and it feels like a good reason to explore. It rewards you and also structures your exploration. But if
maybe
there's
that would help. Maybe that's the answer for a Dark World.
Well, that's where this is going. Actually going in like that's Dark Souls.
But Octane doesn't like that idea. I think that's the problem. Is like we have to admit, Bog, that most players are horrified by this idea of.
Oh yeah, well yeah. If I start talking about what other players prefer, I'm going to say completely different stuff. I think.
Yes. No, but let's stick. I like this idea, Bog, bringing up of bringing some sort of meaning, because I do have this issue with the Souls games. Like, what is the meaning of some of these encounters? Because like I said, you fight these first batch enemies for 4 hours, and you realize this is meaningless. I just wasted 4 hours of my time doing this. I could have just walked right past them with very little consequence.
And enjoyed the better. Yeah, like yeah, no.
There's a huge consequence to walking past them. You've already beaten them multiple times, so you've gained the XP that you needed from them, and you gained the combat experience. If you did that, if you walked past them, you would not have that combat experience.
But isn't the XP not that much compared to other
ways? It's not much XP, and also often you skip encounters that you didn't fight before, right?
Yeah, but if you did fight him before, why would you want to make the player fight him again? Who gives a fuck? Like, don't let them make him do that shit again. The game's long enough. Like, there's no reason for them to fight the same dude over and over and over again.
Well, it seems like there's a lot of issues tied in here. Like, we can't discuss the main crux, because, you know, like, for example, because we're talking about Elden Ring, and there's a lot of issues overlapping that don't necessarily have to do with.
Fair enough.
Well, that's why we're here.
But I think to your point, like, let me ask you this: is anything that we've said Elden Ring specific?
No. Okay. No. The reason I bring this up is because a lot of people.
I'll give Bog like this. Elden Ring, according to the internet, is the greatest game of all time. And so, isn't it held to a higher standard than?
Yeah, that's the reason I bring it up. Right? Yeah, that's the reason I bring up the open world stuff, because it's praised so much.
It is like a 12 out of 10. So isn't it held to the highest possible standard?
But where have you heard that Elden Ring is a good open world game? I've never heard.
Anywhere. Look up like.
All I hear is it's a very good Souls game that's like now an open world.
Look up Elden Ring open world. I get like recommendations on my feed daily, and I watch it. I hate watching it.
Don't watch them.
It's kind of bizarre to me. Because it's like, well, one, you know, no one has like the only truly successful open world series has been Grand Theft Auto by far, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like
that game is insane. My God.
There's no other watermark. Like there's only one. Like Witcher 3's open world, sure, whatever. I mean, you can shake your stick at that, or like Cyberpunk. Oh yeah, good luck fucking defending that. Skyrim has been lauded a million times. I hate the game. I think it's a bad game. But it's like,
I guess Breath of the Wild's the other one. Everyone's like, it's the greatest open world thing ever. It made my life the best thing.
I enjoyed it less overall, but I think the open world is like just
so I guess
having
compared to Breath of the Wild, you felt that Breath of the Wild's open world was better. I like Elden Rings more personally. I did.
But the thing is, like, you don't like open world, so you're like, I get this out of my way.
But you can at least you can.
Shit out of my face.
Right. So it's just better as a game, not as an open world game, too, right?
Probably.
The fuck?
thing. Like I wouldn't try to like.
This is so toxic.
Like I would never try to put that. Okay. It's not that.
Ah!
You gotta start commenting.
Why would you come around the corner?
It's a very big game, but I don't think that it's like, you know,
That is true. Where I really didn't know there was any sort of difference between it and Dark Souls 3 or 1 or anything like that until I started seeing people talk about, oh, it's the best open world game ever or whatever. Like, it didn't seem like maybe. Is this a bit of a product of its own marketing rather than its own design?
Yeah, I think it is.
You're right, Mark.
And also clickbait, because, you know, if you wax on for like an hour about how amazing and new this is, it's a nice click generation.
Because looking back on it, I don't know. This would be interesting. I guess people in the comments can weigh in. Was there a real push from Za about how this is an open world experience, or was this a push from the journalists who, you know, doing what they do?
Yeah, well, I mean, Elden Ring was known as like open world Dark Souls right from the beginning, basically. As soon as they showed the trailers, I think it was mostly from the fans. I'm not sure if the marketing was in the same vein, but yeah, it was just known as like open world. That's a big addition. Because otherwise, it's kind of like Dark Souls 3, but more, you know, different universe, basically.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It is bigger. It's bigger, and it feels like an open world game. Like if you, so for example, if anyone ever told me Ghost of Tsushima was an open world game, I would say, I guess. Is it a good open world game? Not in the slightest, dude. If you want to leverage your concerns of this game against that game, you will have nothing left.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's fucking nothing. It makes Elden Ring look lived in. Like it's amazing. Like it's incredible how shit Ghost of Tsushima's open world is. There's literally nothing there. Nothing happens. And I think like, to your point on like, you know, what I'm curious about is if we think that this is like an evolution of this series of games, right? To quote unquote the open world, right? Whatever you want to call that. Yeah. Like, why is that so exciting to people?
I don't know.
Right, and that's an important. It's an important question, and I think it has to do more with us as older gamers and people as young gamers. Because I think like right now, if you're 11 or 15 or 20, you will have been playing Minecraft for 2 to 3 years. Minecraft, your gaming experience. Yeah. And so if you and then you go from Minecraft to Dark Souls 1 or 2 or 3, and you're just like, where's the rest of the game?
Yeah, that's really true. Like we have a new generation of players that wouldn't like. I remember when I played Ocarina of Time and there's the Great Field. I was like, what the fuck? This is insane. This is huge. Yeah. This is massive. And now we have a whole generation of people that's like tiny to them.
Yeah, but then you go into like the early 2000s and mid 2000s, where, well, even the late 2000s and the early like 2010s, where open world games start coming out more and more and more, and like there's a fatigue that built up. And Dark Souls came out, I was like, holy shit, finally.
That is true. It is kind of a bummer they went this direction.
A lot of kids just don't have that fatigue. To them, it's like, whoa, this is like is their Breath of the Wild, basically. Yeah. A lot of even like younger people. So I guess we're on the Ocarina of Time.
Okay, we're gonna talk about combat next, but I want final words. Do you, for each of you, here?
Like 30 minutes ago when you wanted final words.
No, I mean on this last one. Yeah. Would you prefer? This is just personally. Would you prefer this to be more like Bloodborne or Dark Souls 1, or do you like its open world design as it is? Beginning with you, Bogart.
Yeah, I would prefer it was more like Dark Souls with Bloodborne. Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. One thing I wanted to say is that even though I like Breath of the Wild more as an open world game, I don't like it more as a game. Right now, I actually think I prefer Elden Ring. So.
Hey, how about you, Octane? What do you think? Do you like it as an open world is now, or would you like it more like Dark Souls 1?
No, I want this to be Dark Souls 4. I don't want it to be an open world game. I have, in 31 hours, I've never clicked the crafting button once. I'm hoping that I'll keep playing it and never.
Thanks. I didn't do that either. Crafting was fucking cringe. Been saying this for a while. When I see a crafting mechanic in a video game, I get really scared.
Playing 2 hours. I spend the first 30 minutes of my Elden Ring playing experience going through my inventory and going like, what am I trying to do? Like, And then I spend the next 45 minutes going from bonfire to bonfire and going like, where's the next boss? Because show me the next boss. I want to fight the next boss. I'm so excited to see the next boss. Where's the fucking next boss? God damn it! And you know, and then finally maybe because it hasn't happened every session, I find a boss or something to fight and have a good time doing it. I don't need the spaces in between and all that kind of stuff. Some of the discovery has been good. Most of the discovery has not really bore a lot of fruit to me. And then I saw some bosses that like kind of reappeared, and I didn't love that either. I would rather it just be more. I don't need it to be linear. I just need it to be more bespoke and maybe a little bit smaller.
Yeah. Yeah. And mine would be. I agree with you too. Except they better keep the horse, because by damn it, I want to ride around that horse and slash the shit out of stuff. So keep the horse. Keep that horse in there. Just be on the horse almost half the game, and then I'll be happy.
I do want to mention though, like when I'm in the game, i.e. the castle, i.e. a dungeon, i.e. something meaningful and not the stupid open world that's there that I don't love that much, or when I'm in a boss fight, like to just segue us into combat. Like
yes, we're talking about combat.
It feels, other than the fucking missed inputs, it feels really good.
So let's start off by talking about how you feel about this combat compared to the other Dark Souls games and Soulsborne game, whatever the hell this series is called. Like, how do you prefer it compared to those, Foghog? How does this rank for you? Yeah,
I prefer the combat. Like mechanically, the combat is much better. There's more moves. The moves are more like clearly distinguished. They made the dashes more interesting compared to the Dark Souls 3, whatever it was called, special attacks. Then the stamina system is really cool. The boss stamina system where you whittle down their stamina and open them up for a crit. Then yeah, like the moves are distinguished, they're interesting. There's a lot of ways to dodge specific attacks. For example, ground pounds can be jumped over, some high attacks can be ducked over with the jump. But the problem is like the enemy design really, the boss and enemy design brings it down. Like Actane mentioned how good it is, and it was really impressive for me originally, like at first as well.
You were feeling it. I remember this.
Yeah, I was feeling it. I think I said like, oh, they systematically went through every problem I had with Dark Souls and like fixed. And that didn't last. That didn't last too long. Yeah, it's like when I went through the game.
What did you think about the combat, Octane?
Bogog spot on. I mean, the new moves are good. Like the crouching attacks, the like standing, the rising attacks, get that some of that Tekken feel. You know, get that rising 2 in there.
Yeah.
Some cool shit. Some like so like it's added onto the moveset. I think that a couple criticisms that I have with the combat, because I think Bogog did a good job going through the positives out of that. Like I think the shortcuts get
criticism, brother.
What's that?
We'll get to the criticism. Don't you worry about that.
I think like on face value, face value criticism is. Actually, one thing you didn't mention is I think the shield counters are really cool. It took me a while to understand.
Oh, I like those too. Yeah, those are cool.
I really like those. I think they've opened the game up a ton, especially for slower weapons, and made the game more visceral. The movesets are amazing. All that stuff's really good. One thing we haven't talked about, and it's not really combat focused, but I do want to mention it, is the stealth. Like they mentioned the stealth
great point.
Game, and like they're like, oh, there's like some stealth kind of components to this game. And I did use it for a little bit, but I found myself quickly discarding it in favor of running in head first with the horse and jumping off my horse in a frenzy of attacks of R1s and trying to like then work my way out of that situation. But that is kind of an important, I don't know, thing, like hiding in tall grass, whatever, all that kind of stuff. But I think that like they changed the shortcut for two-handing, first of all, and I hate it. Like this whole, I had to look it up or whatever.
Yeah, I hate that. What the fuck? I have no idea why they changed that. It's very irritating. It was just one button and now it's two. No, like that. At least for one hand, it used to just be one button.
How did the two-handing weapons work in Dark Souls 1 and 2 and 3? Because I believe that they did that because there's more switching between like left and right arm. They made it easier to switch between left and right arm. Because I don't remember. Yeah, I recall it being kind of unintuitive in the previous games.
What am I?
They made that easier, and they made double handing hard.
Yeah, I had to look up how to double hand Bogog. I could not figure it out. I could not figure out how to double hand a weapon.
I mean, that double handing right or left weapon. They made that easier, I believe.
No, I get that, but when are you double handing a shield, my friend? Like, like it just seems like an edge case.
Facts. That.
You have power stancing different weapons, right? And they have separate ashes of war. So that's actually.
Who is?
I guess you're not really using it much normally.
No, you're gonna get the ashes of war from your LT anyways. No reason to double hand that for ashes.
No, but maybe
always override.
Oh, okay.
Right. So if you have a parry, and you have a different thing, you always get parry. You always get left hand.
Right. If you two-hand, you still get the parry.
If you two-handed, you get whatever brand new two-handed moveset is for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm trying to figure out why would you two-hand a shield? Like I get the idea of it, but make that a double combination and give me back my tap wide double hand, my main fucking sword, and put the goddamn shield away. Wait, look.
No, but what I mean is like imagine you have like one sword in the left hand, another sword in the right hand. They both have different ashes of war, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's not that
for dual handers. Is that why they made the change?
I get the change, but I think that like what you've done to the normal, like not normal, what you've done to most people who are shield and swording it, I would say, come on, like 75% of people who are playing this game got a shield, right? Like, come on.
Maybe they're
I
like
think that those folks, where I'm trying to like fucking two-hand so I can like hit this boss for a big amount of damage, and it's eating my inputs, and I have to hold Y and then hit R1. Whereas like in the previous games, they were just tapping Y to go back and forth. Two then have more flexibility, which I agree with you. There is more flexibility the way they did it, because now you can two-hand either the left hand or the right hand, and that's really neat and interesting, and I like the depth there. But I feel like there could have been a more elegant way to not have
get your own input.
You can still.
Leave the two-hander input alone.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make a quick point on the stealth, because I hadn't heard too much about the stealth, but I am a fan of stealth combat, and I picked up on it on my own in that first, those first enemy camp.
Fuck
that's
off.
Stealth level. If you, it's a stealth level. Because I figured out like, oh shit, you can stealth people, and I went around. I felt like I was playing Hitman, and I stealth killed everyone in the entire level except the final boss, or the big boss guy there.
The big dude with the like
yeah.
or whatever.
And then I got absolutely destroyed by that guy until I discovered the horse and the magic of running around and hitting him with the horse attack. But
double jumping on people's faces.
Yeah, the shield counters are interesting because at first I thought they straight up replaced parries with them, right? I was like, oh, this is actually really cool because now you have like a really elegant system. You have a stamina bar that decreases with attacks, but also decreases with like pseudo parries or whatever. But now they still have fucking parries. So it didn't really fix anything much at all. Now you can still like cheese out bosses by parrying them over and over.
What's wrong with that? That's a skill move.
It reduces the game too much to simple timing. Space like unless you're fighting.
Yeah, but you're talking about such a high level of skill that like, for example, like Mark, would you say third strike is reduced to simple timing just because you can?
No, you can't compare it to a multiplayer game because multiplayer games are about prediction, right? But here you have patterns. You can read the patterns. And you can react to them. It's like Simon says, right?
Bog doesn't like parrying though because you don't like parrying in Fight and Rage either, and I think it's brilliant and beautiful and wonderful and it makes me happy.
I like parrying. I like parrying in Stranger of Paradise. That game's amazing when it comes to parry systems. Because the great thing it did is it limited parry. So you have like every time you parry, it takes away. What? No,
limiting my parries? Fuck that.
No, listen. Okay, listen. It like takes away a bit of your parry. There's like a parry stamina. It takes away a bit of your parry stamina, right? So you can.
I will say this, but I will back up Bog here because a lot of games with heavy parry mechanics. Here's an example. A lot of games with heavy parry mechanics, they have throws that enemies do to counter your parries, and that's sort of the way the system gets completed. Does Elden Ring have throws? I don't know if it does or not. Like if you sit there and try and parry, will the boss be like, you're not parrying this, and he'll grab and throw you?
It does, but they're rare. I think they might actually be parryable, at least some of them. Don't quote me on that, but it just like the thing is like it reduces the game too much to you can stand still and wait for the boss to attack and then parry, and that's what I don't like.
Much, yeah. I don't
think it's that high skill either. Like it's high skill when you're not used to it. But imagine you like start off deciding to start parrying every boss. You learn to parry them, and it's not that different from rolling. In some ways, it might even be easier sometimes.
But that's the thing. It's like parry or roll. You're talking about just a solution to the boss fight, and you still have to learn all the attacks and know the timings and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Right? Or no?
Yeah, but rolling is more dynamic because there's a stamina to manage. So if you roll one attack, it feeds into the next. But the space matters.
What if they nerf the parry also less? Like,
Man, that hasn't been.
You just get bopped in the head and probably die.
Well, yeah, that's true, but it's
like. If you miss your roll, you're not gonna die. Probably you're just gonna like.
Right.
You know.
I guess the question is,
off.
do you think it's balanced, or do you think the parry is?
I need a car.
Or do you not want to parry at all? guess those are.
I think it's OP. I think it's like if you integrate into your moveset, it just becomes too dominant. You're not using anything else at that point. That's why I brought up Stranger of Paradise, because it has that parry stamina. It has really, really strong parries. You can like parry. The timing is lenient. You can parry everything in the game practically.
But there's stamina.
Throws, yeah. But there's stamina, and you can recover that stamina. So what you do is you pick out which attacks you want to parry and which attacks you want to dodge, right? And then you sometimes you space, and you can also cancel the stamina recovery quicker by switching jobs. So there's like a lot of you can parry. The parries are strong. They're really effective. They're really good. But you're limited, and you have to choose when to use them basically. And then high level, there find some ways around it by switching classes and stuff. And timing.
What do you in your experience, are you seeing a lot of people like abusing parry, or is this sort of an edge case?
Yeah, a lot of still level 1 runs are parry abuse. Like for example,
Mark, I don't play with the fucking hardcore kids, man. In fact, I'm playing Elden Ring completely offline because Xbox is like, hey, you want to pay for Xbox Live? And I'm like, no, I don't. So I'm just playing the game offline in a blind corner. I haven't looked anything up. I've talked to a couple players about the game, but I haven't looked at any level 1 runs. I'm just a casual gamer, guys.
You know what's interesting? If you have online enabled, you'll see a lot of messages like people, oh, item ahead? No, nothing. You know, all over the world, there's so many of those messages. Like people expect a lot of items when they explore, but they just get nothing over and over.
Well, I haven't found a single illusory wall, so that's kind of
really rare, extremely rare.
But I mean, back to the combat, like, I don't know, like, I think, like,
I'm hesitant to nerf the parries just because some people, if you're a parry man, you love the parries, and I don't know if the average dude is coming in and just destroying the game via parrying, but the parry man, I mean, he comes in, he wants to parry, and there's no more parry. That's a rough time. So I'm not sure if I would get rid of the parry or nerf it. I haven't seen anything that seems too dominant, but like I could see if you're like a speedrunner or if you're like a real high-level player and you have to parry to keep up with the meta, I could see that being annoying. So I can see both sides of it, but I just don't want to. I wouldn't probably take it away because the parry man, he wants his parry.
But I feel like they have a solution to this in the form of shield counters, right? They have an elegant solution.
But a shield counter is kind of like baby parry mode. Like yeah, it's more. I think you like it because it's like more tied to meter and it's more like gameplay. Like it's like if you map it down on paper,
you get hit and you can miss and all this shit. Like when you shield parry, like you can fuck up. Like there's a lot of ways to fuck that up.
Yeah, maybe like if they added some faster attacks for less stamina damage or slower attacks, you get to choose what kind of counter you do after the shield. I'm not actually sure how. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, on paper, I think you're right, Bog, but there's also this subsect of players that I feel like I would be in this group who they just want to parry shit and like kind of have it a little bit busted, and they kind of enjoy that it's a little bit busted, and if you take away the parry, it's not fun.
Yeah, but I'm not talking as a developer, I'm just talking as a gamer, so fuck them.
No, parry man.
Too bad.
No, but I think you also said in Stranger of Paradise the parries are easier to perform, and so
they're tied to meter.
Skill away, and you're making, yeah, but I'm not fucking here to do meter shit. Like, I don't want, in fact, if you remove the meters from the game in some way and it would make the game better to me. Like,
hell yeah, now we're talking.
And not have any fucking,
no meters, baby.
Like, what?
Stranger of Paradise only has the parry meter, nothing else. Go play it.
Yeah, Stranger of Paradise is good, but we're talking like if they could remove the meters from Dark Souls, I would be a happy blade. Because they'd have to start going into more character action territory at that point.
I don't mind, like, there's got to be better ways to limit things than like resource management, I think. But
it is an RPG. That's the issue.
Exactly.
When you start taking that away, you end up in my house where we're playing Devil May Cry and Ninja Gaiden, which I like. I'd be 100% down with that. But I think as a genre, the dude who loves to min max and stats and stuff, he goes to play Elden Ring 2 and there's no meters. He has to like hard counter everything and stuff. He's like, what the hell happened? So that is sort of a balancing act.
No, I wonder if it's this. Like, do you guys think that Elden Ring is trying to be all things to all people?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
That's one of the biggest issues, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's
But it does a pretty damn good job. That's what's impressive about it.
Like, it's doing 8 out of 10 on everything.
Yeah, that's the thing about it.
Maybe 9 out of 10 on certain things.
That's why I think, in some ways, like the combat, I'll bring in my thoughts on the combat. I enjoyed the combat, and getting me to enjoy an action RPG combat is not an easy task. But it was just enough on the action side, where you have the jumps, you have the rolls, you have the parries, you have the counters, everything. It's a lot more.
Whoa! Why did you come out so wide?
I would like to see that input buffer come down though, because sometimes that
this is
tough.
tough.
Insane. I'll swing, and so many things have happened in between when I hit the button to swing. I'm like, no, don't swing now, don't do it. So
more canceling. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think they could have brought down that buffer a bit. I think it would have helped the game more, and I think that's one reason why.
I'm gonna play for a few more minutes. Actually, this will be my last game if I get past round 12.
It doesn't feel as tight. It should be a little tighter, a little faster, in a way, and it just doesn't live up to that tightness for me, if I'm honest. But I think, like, as far as like all the different weapons, the one hand, the two hand, one hand with a shield, now you got all, like, there's just so much variety there that you can kind of forgive it for being a little bit loose because there is so much to do. And I think like one of the things that's super important that we can't forget, as far as like if you.
I did like the stealth. I don't know. Did you guys like
there are swinging animations in this game that just go slow.
I used it like for 10 hours and then I was like,
I was doing stealth even in the castle. I was running around stealth doing stuff in the castle. Yeah.
Like, I just played so poorly there, and I'm just getting completely not hit. I'm just able to strafe everything. The game is very lenient with hits.
Like, if you're looking at the mechanics, like, okay, you could pull a great action game out of it, but that's where like the enemy design really messes me up, because it does not feel like fun if you play it as a pure action game. Like, it stops being fun at a certain point. And I feel like a lot of the other mechanics are really underdeveloped. For example, if I go like, okay, I'm gonna play a mage, what am I gonna do? Just stay out of range and fucking zap them, for 10 minutes. Yeah,
but what, Boghog? I think Devil May Cry 5 with V has taught us is action from
what?
Distance ever going to be good, ever going to be interesting. I've yet to see it. Outside of giving you a gun and you start shooting a gun, like have that. Like, has the mage ever been interesting ever?
Yeah.
I can't really speak to it because I haven't played this part of the game like as deep, and I want you, Boghog, to speak to it in length here in a second. But I think part of what you're saying is like if you force a mage to do some close combat or tie up like elemental types, like learn something like a different trait or a different craft, like they have to like either get some items from someplace or like, oh, I have to figure out what elemental type this boss is, something that like a regular soldier would never have to do, but a mage would have to do to make things a little bit more dicey and interesting versus like, well, I have my one big old spell that kills almost everything, so I'm just gonna sit back and sort of do that. That's what makes like Oblivion and Morrowind and those other games like better on the mage side. It's just like, oh, you have lightning, two-handed lightning, you have like this and that and whatever else. I don't find any of that shit interesting at all. Personally, if I'm gonna play Pokemon, I'm gonna go play Pokemon. I like Pokemon. There's no reason for me to bring Pokemon.
Or play an
to my
FPS if you want to shoot stuff from distance. Just
Facts.
But I just mean like the elemental stuff where you're doing like multiple like alchemies and shit like that, where you're trying to like.
If you want to play Pokemon, get the fuck out of Elden Ring.
I'm gonna bring up Stranger of Paradise again because that actually that game.
I haven't played this game.
No one has played that fucking game except me, and it's so good.
No,
it's
it's
good.
a public guy. Like my podcast, my like non-schmuck podcast I've been talking about. So people are gonna play.
I got the demo on PS4, Boghog, but the demo on base PS4, the resolution is like 360p or something. It is so low.
It should be perfect for you. Throw it on your CRT.
That's what I'm saying. I'm used to low resolution, and I'm
PS2, it's PS2 or early PS3 tribute.
Yeah. So I'll probably get it on my Xbox One X so I can actually see the game when I play it at some point. But yeah, it is interesting. So you're saying that they figured out some sort of mage.
Yeah, they have some more interesting. Like it's not perfect, obviously. It still has a lot of issues. But one of the things it does with spells is they have pretty big cast times and the tiers. You know, you can get the low tier spells pretty quickly, and you have to stand still and cast for a while to get the bigger tier spells. But you can interrupt the cast with a dash, and you continue to cast after the dash.
That's some team right there.
Yeah, it has some interesting buffs. You know, like the classic Final Fantasy buffs. Like haste, they actually speed your character up. Your character actually starts running around really fast, casting spells really fast, doing charge attacks really fast. Then it allows you to stack kind of like these kind of emblems. If you cast several spells in a row, then you can like get rid of all your buffs to cast an even bigger and more powerful spell. So you can like collect, stack a few buffs. There's a lot of prep time, and then you get a big reward for it. It's still kind of busted, but it's really fun. It's a lot. But in Elden Ring, the problem is like they do so much, and a lot of these playstyles just kind of suck. It's like, oh yeah, you get a big laser that you can like just stand and spam. And the bosses just like a lot of the bosses either sit there or they even walk into it. Then you have like spirit ashes. You summon spirit ashes, and the bosses just like attack them. They don't.
Yes.
They don't aggro.
That's a huge criticism that I agree with because there's this one boss where I literally practiced it for 10 hours to do like a no hit, full dodge, low stats kill, and it worked, and it was really fun. And I was looking up like, oh, just some strategy ideas, and one guy just summoned wolves and killed the boss. I was like, all right, so that's all you have to do is summon wolves, and the boss dies.
Facts! Facts! That's so bullshit. That shouldn't be in the game. Pokemon should not be in the game. If you want to play Pokemon, go play Pokemon. The fuck? You can use magic, sit back.
Because Neo 2, I had this. Remember the owl boss in Neo
That's
2?
not.
Practiced against that boss.
That's not the game. You're not playing the same game as me. You're playing Pokemon.
I can't remember what that is.
Trainer Red?
You just put it on that and killed it in 5 seconds. So like,
Guys, Trainer Red. What the fuck is happening?
Oh yeah, I'm the buff man. I just put buffs.
Max?
It's like items practically, so it feels distinct. But in Elden Ring,
but they were so OP in Neo 2. I know I like Neo 2. We all like Neo 2, but it was so OP that he did it in like one hit. It was like
that's a problem, but it's a bit of a different issue. The issue is like Actain's saying, you know, there's a lot of playstyles, but I just like you have to commit to the playstyles.
No, I didn't. No. I don't know about the different playstyles. I just think there's a lot of different movesets.
A lot of stuff you can
No,
do.
but you're saying like it has a bit for everyone, right?
I think he meant it more like a melee combat sort of sense.
I meant so because I'm not a mage dude, so I don't know how to describe that. Like I did do a little bit of range stuff in Elden Ring, and it seems okay. It's kind of interesting, but it's not amazing. But I just meant more like, you know, like a rapier versus a short sword versus a twin blade versus a big sword versus like a shield.
Right.
You want to bang things down with a shield. You can do two hands, a big ass shield.
Game.
Yeah, that is
hit people with a fucking shield. And I'm not saying that's a playstyle necessarily, so you make a strong point. But I definitely think that fighting a dude with a two-handed shield versus a set of twin daggers is a different experience.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think some of the stuff, like some of the melee stuff, it does pretty well. Especially like spirit ashes, because you know you can get like the bloodborne dash, but you get spirit. Yeah.
You can, and let's keep in mind, like again, this game trying to be all things to all people. I think our biggest criticisms have been that the game doesn't force you to engage with a lot of the more interesting mechanics, or when it does force you to engage with them, they're too simple or too easy to understand.
True, yeah.
Well, I think part of that, like
Elden Ring is very mediocre.
Them, like their materia in Final 7 or whatever, like you literally can just.
What it could be.
And I think in a lot of ways, this game does feel like a big experiment by the studio.
Very mediocre.
And they nailed it. And I think in places, the weight of the experiment collapsed upon itself.
If the game was under my vision, that game would be. Everyone would be doing dying in one hit.
And is that going to ruin their entire game?
Playing with every single. You would be required to play with these mechanics. Otherwise, the bosses would be substantially harder. I just have no sympathy for playing like a bitch. You don't use Pokemon. You're not allowed to use that. Should never be allowed to use any of this shit.
It is, but then.
Well, even like schmucks, dude. Like you feel like such a fucking moron. Like if you're playing AL and DDP, and that's just the ship that you decide to pick, or AS or something, and you've been grinding for 100 hours, and you come out of your cave, and everyone's just like eating a sandwich in one hand and doing CS with the other hand, and one alling like, and you're just like, why am I? What am I
Wow.
like, I'm a moron, right?
How did that kill me?
What am I doing? And so I think like everything. Like,
Okay, this has to be my last game for sure. Just hit midnight.
to lever severe balance issues to an open world game with 500 weapons or whatever, and like stances, and like to me, I mean, it's just too difficult.
Oh yeah, kind of criticize the approach they
Yeah, bang out.
Fuck, what the fuck did I want to say? Oh yeah, like.
A quick session of studying.
That varies. It's like a spectrum of how broken stuff is and how intuitive it is.
Can get this over with.
Just like pure claymore, two-handed claymore, rolling armor. That's it.
Stale.
I didn't even use Ashes of War much, besides just playing around with them. And then I just felt like the game wasn't really balanced around it. It made me feel like an absolute idiot for even playing. It's like, okay, the boss takes almost no damage. Then if I did even something simple like use the bleed weapon, I'd immediately like shred their HP. But then I attack and the boss takes no damage. They keep spamming attacks, like they keep spamming these insane like Marvel vs. Capcom combos. You can't do, and you can't get hit. And it's like, was this designed so someone can summon Spirit Ashes so I can like get them distracted and smack them around, or what am I even doing?
Yeah, I think why.
Yeah, I'm trying to estimate how they designed. I'm trying to estimate what kind of playstyles they're balanced it around. And I just don't get it. I have no clue how they wanted me to play this game. Yeah, and
I
that's
think
why
that happens. I've talked to other players about this too. I think that happens as the game progresses. Like I think it starts off. It's such a stronger foot forward in the beginning because it's like more contained as far as what the player can do. Like that first boss fight.
The bosses are better designed overall. The first like the second, well, not the second boss, but what's his name? The guy that grafts a lot, like the you know, that guy. Yeah, that guy's really.
I don't know what his name is because I killed him my second try. Like I literally turned the recording on. I died the first try and killed him the second try.
Yeah, really
jellyfish. And
oh yeah.
I don't know.
I like that boss because that boss like is really well designed because he does like simple attacks or like really short combos. You can punish them. Yeah, a lot of his attacks are punishable if you jump over them. There's a learning curve to it. Then the later bosses just get such insane combos, and they do this thing where they, you know, like in previous Dark Souls bosses, they do like 3 hits and then they stop. They freeze and you can hit them, right? These bosses do 3 hits, then they wait, and as soon as you move into hit them, they fucking do 24 hits in the combo. They fucking jump in the air, they dodge, they throw shuriken. It's so insane. Like it feels like it's designed so you could like pull, so something could pull aggro and you would get some more chances to attack them.
So are you saying like the later you get, the less the pure melee claymore build becomes viable and you're sort of forced to, all right, now I gotta pull out some spells.
It's viable, but it's not fun. It just becomes less and less fun as you progress. It feels like you're meant to play a little bit of everything. You know, like when the boss is doing this crazy anime combo, you can stand aside and just shoot some magic spells. And when they're doing more reasonable attacks, you can maybe roll in and take a few slashes. Sometimes it feels like you're meant to pull aggro with the summons, you know, or the Spirit Ashes. So it just feels really weird. I can't even estimate what the developers intended. And
I think what the developers intended is they took each of the bosses and said, well, the average player, like it's like the law of averages, right? It's like you play a certain type of playstyle, you roll up on this boss and it just kicks your ass. But if you play a different kind of playstyle, maybe it's easy for this boss. Then you go to the next boss that playstyle and it kicks your ass because you're a different type of player, and then you got to figure that out. It almost feels like, and I haven't gotten further in the game, right? So I don't know the answer to this, but what you're describing to me reminds me of just like a breadth issue of like there's so much going on, there's so many systems at play, and min-maxing them is too powerful, ignoring them is too weak, and that the game wants you to find the balance between them, and then you were struggling to find a good balance of competitiveness that's like not fully min-max where things are just dying in one hit, and not fully weak where you're just scratching the boss and you're not able to like do just a pure dodge. And I think what's funny about this statement to me is that like in previous games, you know, I would be headstrong and try to do, like you said, like do things that obviously the
Okay,
do, like,
stop nading, please, and just ward.
I would just go into places and just get wrecked, and then when I finally made like a lightning spear or something, like things just
Let me get a game.
just started to like die.
Okay,
like,
playing for real now.
But I felt good about that because I was just like, oh, I figured it out. Like I kind of figured out the puzzle here of just like, it's not, the puzzle isn't in the combat in this case. The puzzle is in the spec, right? And so the question that I would ask you is that like, there's the breadth of bosses. To you, I think what you're looking for is a full combat experience where the entire puzzle or most of it's in the combat. And I think some people are saying the puzzle's in the spec itself. You're saying that's really easy. Like it's easy to spec towards that puzzle, but I don't know if that's gonna be easy for everyone as they're exploring the game, trying to figure out what is effective against this boss. And maybe something is over effective, whatever. But like that process, that experience for you, I think sounds like it was frustrating. But it feels like for most people, they're gonna be throwing shit at the wall, trying to figure out what's gonna work against this guy. And when it does work, they're not gonna be like, oh, that was too easy. I think they're gonna be like, great, let's move on to the next boss, this 120-hour game. Like I've got 85 bosses behind this one. Let me go to the next one and figure out what's gonna stick. You know, what's gonna hit the wall on that one.
Well, it depends on how you view the game. I feel like the combat is the bread and butter. You know, I feel like the games are designed with the basic.
Wow, I'm down on an insta-kill. Yeah.
At least they used to.
Well, you know,
If the stats trivialize them,
I always get worse progressively when I play.
I guess a good question is, does this issue appear in like Dark Souls 1 or Bloodborne or something?
Nope, not at all.
Okay,
I've seen magic build in Dark Souls. I don't do anything that I had to do. I had to fucking dodge everything.
Listen, acting, you're misunderstanding. The issue isn't that like the magic builds are OP. It's that if you're not using magic, it feels the basic like bread and butter combat feels not fun. It feels really frustrating.
I haven't gotten to that point in the game yet where it's too hard to just like.
Yeah, me neither. I haven't gotten that far.
But I've heard that from players. You know, the games they're like, dude, magic is important. I'm like,
And Bob stuck it out to the bitter end. You gotta.
I got so like the problems are that just what I described. The bosses have such ridiculous combos with like randomized delays, randomized like they trick you, they bait you into punishment.
They're not randomized. There are no randomized delays.
They put shit all over the arena. Like there's so much frustrating stuff going on, so it feels like
Oh my.
the most effective way to play combat is just bait safe moves. You know, you can punish.
Am I playing Grief?
You know, run away. Otherwise, like space yourself out and stay outside the.
I'm getting grief by crawlers. Chimon.
You know, slicing all over the place.
Wow.
it feels like in Dark Souls 3, the DLC specifically had bosses like that where I just had to play so conservative, like just like I could not go toe to toe with them, probably underleveled or something. I'm always underleveled in these games, guys.
Me too.
Don't save my souls. Like I'm just always like people are like, oh, what level are you? Like, what? How? I'm 82. Like it's
Actually, I don't play the DLC. I gotta go back and play it.
the point I'm trying to make is that like I do feel like previous games at my skill level of being a shitty gamer, there were definitely bosses where I'm like, I'm never gonna figure this attack out. I just have to like figure out how to like cheese or figure out how to bait a particular attack. Maybe by running very far away and they do an attack where you're very far away, they do a particular charge or something, or if you're very close, they do like what looks like a really hard attack to dodge, but if you're like up in their nuts, it's not too bad. You just do like some dodges or something. But I don't know, like to me, like that is frustrating, and I agree with you. But it's always been frustrating for all the games. Like that to me, that whole like getting your ass kicked. I think people are searching for that from this game. I think they want randomized bullshit, Mike Tyson punch out type shit, where it's just like you don't know exactly what you're doing, and you aren't very patient. I think it seems like they took that slider and cranked it to the max in the end of this game, to where it's like almost you have to be almost too patient basically. What you're saying, it's like almost too unfun. Like, but that's why I felt one was when I played the Gaping Dragon for the first time. I was like, I swear it took me 2 hours.
I hate that boss. It's so boring. But anyway,
What if it's a bit of sneaky level or game design though, Bogdan? I really wish I was better at the series so I could really tell. But like think of in Shmups, for example, where they have the 2 loop system where for Indonam for the expert players, the challenge is keeping that chain, and then the second loop, now you have basic survival difficulty. What if this is like a bit of game design on FromSoft's part, where they're like, okay, we see you super players out there, and you think you're so slick and badass. Let's put this shit out here for you, just to, so the noobs can just use spells or whatever bullshit the noobs are gonna do. But for the hardcore Mr. Perry guy, we got a present for you, and here it is. But do you think that's possible?
The goal is now to get around the
they want to overhaul the mechanics completely, but they also couldn't make the games in the same vein as the previous ones because people get really good at them. People get insanely good at Souls. They play them. So the only choice they have to do is to do things like
RNG.
RNG increase like the combos, make them more difficult.
My head's just not in the game.
Just fuck with the player basically. I think that's a mistake. The main issue is like, for example, you can dodge, you can punish a lot of attacks that seem unpunishable in Elden Ring, but I feel like the difference there is that the punishments are so unintuitive and weird that you can't like smoothly progress towards it. For example, there's a boss where you gotta how do I even describe this? Okay, there's a better example. There's a boss near the end where they do an attack, ground pound attack, and the way to dodge it isn't to roll or to jump because those are both inconsistent. The way to dodge that attack is to go kind of towards the boss and
Lost on me.
Tracking, right? Could be a tracking model and misdirect the whole attack, and that's so fucking weird. I did not have to do.
Mark, there's shmups in this game.
Yeah, playing in Elden Ring.
Hardcore point blank misdirect.
Playing in Elden Ring melee felt like playing soul level 1 runs in the previous games, where it's like a lot of the solutions become so technical and weird.
Right. That's a good point because I was looking this up at Octane for a certain boss fight where I was like, okay, I want to find the most hardcore strat that these players are doing, like what he's saying, where level 1 naked with a club type strat. And the stuff they were showing was hilariously insane and technical. But I kind of found it interesting. Like, you have to de-lock the camera, you have to run in, you have to stand on his left arm as the camera de-locks, and you have to roll a certain way.
Yeah, that's how the game should be.
But I don't know with the later boss fights if it gets to be out of hand.
It gets even more silly. Like, there's an attack that people initially thought was completely undodgeable unless you're playing a specific build. Now they found a way to like abuse the AI to such an extent where they can redirect the attack and do very, very specific dodges. It's so obscure. It's so fucking weird. It definitely feels like you're speedrunning a game. Like the kind of strats you're using feels less like you're just naturally learning patterns.
And most players are basically. I think what I get.
That's how the game should be.
Here is getting owned because the noobs can just abuse spells, or the hardcore ultra speedrunner dudes can find their little 1-frame link into the the average man who wants to dodge roll these later bosses, they're not for you. You're gonna get owned hard.
You're not gonna have a very good time with that.
That's how the game should be.
Like maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. But I think the average person would also do this thing where they're like, well, I feel underleveled. I'm going to need to be able to tank this in some way, like get a bigger shield or get something that can actually tank this.
That's not going to work for long. That's not going to work for long because the bosses.
The real way to play the game was level 1.
Like, you can max
what if you're summoning? But aren't you summoning like jellyfish and shit that they're fighting most of the time?
No, I never did.
That's sub-average. That's sub-average. You're ignoring the entire mechanic, and you're experiencing.
Okay, so now you're blaming me for ignoring the mechanic. See, like you said,
I'm saying the average person would not ignore that. Like I did.
I don't know, a lot of it's not like average. It's more like people who play action games like a challenge, you know, like a fun challenge.
I agree, but I'm just you're right. I'm just saying like it's like rolling up to
Okay.
Shmup and just like bombing the fuck out of them, and then like if you don't want to, it's really hard or obscure or difficult to like no miss them. To me, it's like the summons or whatever. Like I'm using summons. If there's a character in the world who's like, hey, I'll help you with this fight, I'm like, fuck yeah, why would I not? Why would we not do this? Get your ass in here. We gotta fight this fucker together. Like I'm gonna do that. And I think that if you're purposefully not, this is the point I'm trying to make. If you see something that says here's the nuke button and you go, no, I'm not hitting that, right? I think at that point you're in a different tier of gamer. To your point, like intermediate or whatever, like action game, whatever that is. But you're purposefully ignoring DPS because you want to solo or you want to.
I expect the game to be fun when I do that, basically.
And I agree with you. And maybe they're not. Maybe they're not fun, right? But my presupposition is that they gave you these things. You should be using these things. And if the games are too
no, you shouldn't.
That's the question. I think that would be a better.
You shouldn't be using Oh! Why did my guy just? Why did my guy? My guy's groaning.
What he's saying is,
is it really that easy? It has to push you
into that higher skill tier if you want to use the.